In an interview with Vanity Fair, Representative Cori Bush disclosed that she, in the past, has gotten an abortion, which is a courageous thing to admit as a public figure on its own. But she also disclosed that she became pregnant after getting raped at the age of 17. So she's going to talk about this in more detail soon. There will be a House committee, House Oversight Committee hearing on the anti-abortion laws that are popping up across the country. And so during that hearing, Cori Bush does plan on talking about her experience, but this is something that she experienced, and she was able to get an abortion because the abortion was available to her. But in states like Texas, there are no exceptions for victims of rape and incest. So if a woman gets raped and is pregnant as a result of that rape in the state of Texas, it is very likely that she'll have to carry that pregnancy to term, because abortions past 6 weeks are banned in that state now. And most women who become pregnant don't know that they're pregnant at 6 weeks. Yeah.
And as we've talked about multiple times, the goons that passed this bill know that that's why they're doing it at this point. They try to figure out, okay, how far can we draw the line? Okay, can we do 7? Can we do 6, 5? Maybe the Supreme Court will let 5, so we'll do 6. That's what it is. They didn't do it because they're concerned about fetal heartbeats or whatever. Nobody cares about fetal heartbeats that writes or passes abortion legislation. But I like that she talked about this, that it helps to take away the needless remaining stigma we have. But I do hate that we are back as a society to talking about exemptions for rape and incest. Yeah, I don't give a damn about those specific categories of whether you get to have the rights you've had your entire life or not. That was the nonsense that Democrats used to sort of like fight the battle on, is making sure that there's carve out for those sorts of things. No, it's your right. You get your right.
Yeah.
Not under these little minor, did we find a social situation that even a Republican admits is unacceptable? No, the Republicans do not get to decide, or they should not get to decide.
No one gets to decide.
We've unfortunately moved back to that phase of our society.
No, it's such a great point. It really is, because I get why she's coming forward with her story, because it humanizes something that I think a lot of people think about in the abstract, right? But it doesn't matter why a woman has decided or chosen to get an abortion. That is a personal decision, and the state really should not have a role in that unless we're talking about viability, right? And even in the case of viability, I mean, once you get to the point where a fetus is viable outside the womb, abortions are incredibly rare. In fact, they only happen when the life of the mother is at risk, right? And so the idea that we have on one hand HIPAA regulations that are supposed to protect our records, our health information, our personal data, because privacy matters, right? Especially when it comes to healthcare. But then on the other hand, the state of Texas has enabled Americans, not just in that state, but across the country, to speculate about a woman's pregnancy status and pursue lawsuits against anyone who may have assisted that woman in getting an alleged illegal abortion. Like, that's insane. It's insane. Again, it is a personal decision for the woman, okay? You wanna come at me with religious arguments, don't wanna hear it. Separation of church and state. You believe in a religion that says you can't get an abortion, don't get an abortion, but you don't get to dictate the lives and the bodies of other women, period. Period. I don't care about whatever your religion is. You wanna come at me with, but it's a human life. Okay, well, who's the arbiter of where life begins, right? Because, by the way, you use the word fetus. In the case of Texas, we're talking about
before that,
Before that, we're talking about embryos. They're not even considered fetuses, they're embryos. It's not a viable human life outside the womb. And I don't buy that argument either, because of how these very people who make that argument treat living, breathing humans as we speak. How they're not in any way up in arms about what Governor Greg Abbott has done in Texas in response to coronavirus. I mean, you have the lieutenant governor of Texas on national television candidly saying, we need to open businesses up prematurely. And yeah, people are gonna die, but that's, that's the trade-off that we need to make, because my precious stock portfolio,
pro-life,
they don't care about lives.
No.
They don't, and I refuse to refer to them as pro-life. They're not pro-life. They're anti-choice. They're pandering to religious zealots, and that's all that's happening here. And it's about control.
Yeah, it's about setting up a Christian hierarchy. That's all it is. If it was men that were, that had the fetuses inside of them, we would not be having this conversation. With women, they believe that then they can exercise control over it. And there's so much stupid hypocrisy that is probably pointless to even talk about. But today, Ted Cruz is tweeting about hashtag your body, your choice, about NBA players and the vaccine or whatever. You mentioned the HIPAA rights, the privacy between a woman and her doctor. So we've talked about HIPAA a lot this year, ridiculous invocations that have nothing to do with it. So Marjorie Greene thinks if you ask if she's violated, it's a violation, or ask if she's vaccinated, it's a violation of her HIPAA rights, but she should get to make you bear a child for literally months. And you're right to point out how rare viable fetuses are aborted. For every single time that has ever happened, there's been 30 encounters between Marjorie Greene and another person where she's shouting in their face about it. It doesn't actually happen. It's a myth, it's nonsense. All of this is nonsense. It's been adjudicated, but unfortunately, it might be your right, but power trumps rights. And they got the Supreme Court for a lot of different reasons. A lot of people are to blame. We need to fight back against it. Unfortunately, the vast majority of our allies are worth, I almost swore, nothing, I'll say, dog something. That's what our allies are for the most part. They're dog something.
I like to use crap as a good synonym.
That feels like you're getting close to it, but then you can't say it. I would rather not even get that close, but yeah, and so again, pointing out the thing about the rhetorical backsliding that we've had, I'm not criticizing Cori Bush. Cori Bush is using the rhetorical tools that we have. It is just a sad state that the country is in, that we're once again fighting the battles of the 1950s and 60s.
It's incredibly frustrating. So as I mentioned, this hearing will take place later this week. And when it does, we'll give you more details about Cori Bush's story, but also what comes out of that hearing. But the other thing that's frustrating, and I'll just leave it here, is that under the Obama administration, we have a super majority in Congress, and we could have easily codified, we could have passed legislation ensuring that abortions in this country would be safe and legal. And they missed that opportunity, along with a whole host of other opportunities.
They could do it now.
They could, but this—
and voting rights.
This Congress.
And student loans.
They could do so much.
And climate change and healthcare, and you know what? They're just gonna do none of it.
It's very likely, yeah.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.